Hi, welcome to Brian Sews. Today on the show I'm going to be sewing a lightweight knit fall sweater using a t-shirt pattern. This is a very easy project. We're going to start with the t-shirt pattern. I'm using Berta 8329, although pretty much any t-shirt pattern you have will work for this project. I'm using a lightweight knit. This is an acrylic wool blend. I have a matching thread. I have a needle that matches the size of my thread, so I'm using a size 9 needle. A few straight pins. I'll be cutting my fabric out today with a rotary cutter on a rotary mat, although you could be using scissors just as easily. I'll be sewing this project on a standard zigzag sewing machine. We're not going to be using any special feed or special stitches. This is going to be a very straightforward project. So, let's get started. It's time to cut out our pattern pieces. We take our knit, and we want the greatest stretch to be across the body, so this way. And since a t-shirt pattern, the front and the back are both cut on a fold, instead of folding the fabric in half, we're going to just fold up one side of the fabric. Make sure it's properly aligned. Although a knit is pretty forgiving. You can tell if you have it straight because the ribs will run right along the fold. Okay, now we're ready to cut out our fabric. I'm going to use a couple of these pattern weights that I have. If you don't have pattern weights, you can use coffee cups or a tape holder, anything heavy to just kind of hold your paper in place as you cut around it. Like I said, I'm going to be using the rotary cutter. I'll just be following along the pattern outline, trying not to cut the paper. You can see on this pattern, this is my favorite t-shirt pattern, and I've made many modifications to the fit, so it's perfect for me. And there we go. That's our first piece. So usually what I do is I like to lay the pattern paper with the fabric out of the way so I don't cut the same one twice. And let's see if there's enough here at the end to cut the back. Oh yeah, there is. And there we go. Just as easy as that. I'll choose a section for the sleeves. You'll see that I made a new copy of my sleeve pattern. I have the original here. The original I had done so many modifications to that it became rather difficult to work with this piece. So what I did was I just took and traced it off on a new piece of paper, and now I have a new one. I still save the old one just in case I want to recopy it or use the markings on it. Now with the sleeve, what we need to do is we need to mark the back of the sleeve and where the seam goes. Usually I would do just take a little snip out of the fabric, but because this is a knit, you wouldn't be able to see it. So I'm going to mark that area with a straight pin. So what we're going to do is mark the top. This is where the sleeve cap intersects the shoulder seam. And I need to know which side is the front and the back. And this is the back, so I'm going to go ahead and put another pin through the fabric, marking the back. Okay. So there we go. We're ready to move on to the next step. But the last piece we have to cut out is the neckband. So we'll cut it being sure that we have the stretch going around the neck. And usually what I do is I cut a little bit extra, maybe an inch or so more than the pattern calls for. This particular neckband is placed on the fold, so you can see that it ends up being much longer after you cut it out and unfold it. Okay, that's all of our pattern pieces. Let's move on to the actual construction techniques. It's time to begin the construction of our garment. What we need to determine first, however, is which side we'd like to be the inside and the outside. This particular knit has a smoother side and a fuzzier side. I would like the smoother side next to the skin. With knits, they generally do have two different sides, and you can use whichever side you'd like as the outside. There's no right or wrong way to do that. So what I'm doing is I'm determining which is the inside and the outside, and then I'm matching the shoulder seams together. And we're only going to sew up one shoulder seam. It doesn't matter which one you choose at this point. Alright, after you've matched the right sides together, you can close up one shoulder seam. I'm using a 3/8 inch seam allowance on my pattern. I have my stitch length set to a 3, and you want to loosen your pressure foot pressure. You don't need to squish the knit as you're sewing it as much as if you were sewing woven cotton. And I simply match the edges together. Just like that. And I'm going to apply the neckband next with the neck open. I think you'll find this is a very easy way to apply a neckband. So determine the right side and the wrong side of your neck, match right sides together of your shirt or sweater, as this may be. Really pay attention. Don't sew this around the armhole. If you sew it around the armhole, a lot of times because it's a knit, there's really no way to take the stitches out. You have to start over again. So stretching it tight. This stretching will prevent the neckband from gapping, especially on the front as you're wearing your shirt.